Hi everyone, welcome to HTML Bootcamp Session 1. So today we'll be seeing what what do you mean by HTML. We'll be seeing the introduction of HTML. What does HTML mean? What is used for? Why we should learn HTML? What are the advantage of learning HTML? And what are the disadvantage of HTML? So basically each and everyone know what does HTML means. So HTML stand for hypertext markup language. So always remember HTML is a markup language and it is not a programming language. So you cannot compare HTML with JavaScript, or you cannot compare HTML with Java, .NET or C++, because HTML is a simple markup language. It's not a programming language. Basically, HTML describes the structure of web pages using markup or using tags. They used to create elements which are the building blocks of HTML pages, and basically with the use of HTML you can create a static website. Now the major question arises that why you should learn HTML, why HTML is important. So nowadays you have different platform like WordPress, Wix, Blogger, where you can directly create a website. There is no need to write a bunch of HTML code and create your own website. You have drag and drop functionality. You can create a website in few minutes or within an hour. But again, question arises that why you should learn HTML. So take an example. If you have already created a website with the help of WordPress or with the help of Wix, or you have created a blog and you find that there is some issue with the website, it's not working because of the constraint of WordPress or because of the constraint of Wix, and rather than blaming WordPress or rather than blaming Blogger or rather than blaming Wix, you can actually deep dive in and you can actually fix the issue. You can go in the background, you can see the HTML code, you can fix the HTML code because you have a knowledge of HTML. So every website, you can say that HTML is a building block. So main building block of website is HTML. So learning HTML should always be your first step. After learning HTML, you can proceed further with CSS, cascading style sheets, and then you can proceed further with JavaScript, which is nowadays booming. So if you know HTML, CSS and JavaScript, there are plenty of jobs, and JavaScript is not a client side scripting language, because nowadays it has been evolved, and now like you can use different database, you can use it as a server side scripting language. It's used in IoT, it's used in blockchain nowadays to create smart contract. Also it's used in machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I know the same thing Python is doing, but JavaScript has like evolved suddenly, and nowadays people are moving more towards JavaScript. Before learning JavaScript, you should have a knowledge of HTML and CSS. Okay, so HTML can be learned in few days. If you are going through an intensive study, then it will hardly take 10 days to learn HTML. And always remember, HTML is valuable as CSS and JavaScript. Again, there is a small note from my side that you can't do much with HTML except for the basic creation of web pages. Your web pages will be static, and if you want to make it as a responsive one or interactive one, then you need CSS and JavaScript. So basically with the help of HTML, you can just create a simple web page. You need JavaScript to create a responsive and interactive user interface of a web page. So HTML is just a markup language for creating web pages. And when we talk about the version, HTML5 is the latest active version of HTML language. So initially there was HTML 4.0, 4.1, and then now it's HTML5, which is widely used. So as we are seeing on the screen, so HTML is, now we know what does HTML means. HTML stand for hypertext markup language. HTML, hypertext markup language. And this is just a markup language and not a programming language. So HTML elements are the building blocks of HTML page, and HTML we can say as a building block of every website. Proceeding further, like how was the evolution of HTML took place, that will be seeing. So when we talk about the evolution, so in 1993 it got used first time. So HTML 1.0, it was created in 1990s, but actually it was used in 1993. Uh, the person who created HTML was Tim Berners-Lee. He was a physician, I believe. So in the Sun Laboratory, like he has created this particular language. So yeah, HTML 1.0 was originated in 1993. So that's the reason I have written here 1990s. Then HTML 2.0, it came in 1994, the upgraded version of 1.0. HTML 3.2 in 1997, then HTML 4.0 in 1999, and then there was a huge gap between HTML 4 and HTML 5. It took almost 15 years, and now we have HTML 5, which was originated in 2014. But this is how the evolution of HTML took place. It started in 1990s, and still it's continued. HTML5 is the latest version of HTML. Now, what are the good thing about HTML5 that we need to know? So why we should use HTML? So it provide good support on modern mobile devices like iOS, Android. It's most simpler language, I can say, a simpler markup language. Initially, like in HTML4 or the previous version, you were requiring a plugin to include or embed video and audio, but now in HTML5 you really do not need video and audio plugin. So you don't require a plugin in order to embed video and audio. Also, like the enhancement which took place, like rounded corner, gradient, text layout, and other thing which evolved in HTML5, it's really promising good. It's also supporting mobile JS framework like JQ Touch and other thing. So these are some good things about HTML5. Then proceeding further with the browser support. So HTML5 is supported by almost all the browsers. So generally people are still complaining that few tags whichever they are using, are few tags are supported in IE Internet Explorer, but the response is not as same as in Chrome. But I believe like within 2 years, by 2020 or by 2021, I believe everything will be streamlined and all the browser will respond to all the tags. But yeah, HTML5 is supported by all the browser like Chrome, Firefox, IE, Safari. Then proceeding further, so the purpose of web browser is to read the HTML document and display them. So basically you are using HTML tags while creating an HTML document, and you need to save the HTML document with .html, and then you can see that the browser will be displaying the HTML document. It will not get displayed as it is, but it will get displayed in a format of website or something. HTML element. So again, when we talk about the HTML element, it look like this. You have an opening tag, you have a closing tag, you have content, and you have element. So almost all the tags which you are going to use in HTML will be having same kind of thing. So always opening tag, closing tag, then you will be having content, and entire thing will be known as an element. And that what I have described here. What does opening tag mean, closing tag, content, and element. And this is a simple code which we can write in Notepad, or you can use any text editor. So always HTML will have an opening and closing tag. Under HTML tag, all the other tags will be coming. So HTML tag generally consists of head and body. Body consists of all the content of HTML pages. Head contents of title and all other kind of heading, we can say. And in the summary, like we can say, like what are the features of HTML. So HTML5 is easy to learn, easy to use, it's platform independent. Images, video, audio can be added to a web pages. Hypertext can be added to the text. It's a markup language. Why you should learn HTML? Because in order to go ahead with JavaScript or CSS, it's better to learn HTML first. That should be your first step. Then you should proceed further with CSS and then with JavaScript. And if you learn all this thing, then you can proceed further with jQuery and other thing. Why you should learn HTML? It's a simple markup language. Within 10 days of intensive study, you can learn this markup language. It is generally used to create static websites. And I believe, like, if you are extremely good in HTML or HTML5, it's ultimately going to increase your salary. So advantage, HTML is used to build website. I will rather say static website. It is supported by all the browser, and it can be integrated with other languages like CSS and JavaScript. There are few disadvantages, I can say. So we can say that HTML can create only static web pages. For dynamic web pages, other languages has to be used like JavaScript or Java, .NET and other thing. Large amount of code has to be written to create a simple web page, because again you're doing a manual coding for HTML on Notepad or any other editor. So you're writing a large amount of code. You have different editor. You can drag and drop, and ultimately, like, in order to create a simple text box, I have to write multiple lines. But if I have a good editor or other IDE, then I can just drag and drop a text box and it will get created. The third disadvantage which I thought is a security feature. So there is not high security in HTML or HTML5. So these are some disadvantage. So I hope you like this video. If you like this video, so please like, share and subscribe. If you have any query, please reach out to me. All the contact details has been provided in the description. And in the next session, we'll be learning about the editors, text editors, as well as some advanced editor which we can use rather than Notepad. So till that time, yeah, thank you. Keep learning, keep sharing.